Welcome into ESPN Headlines. I'm Michelle Steele. Manti Te'o says he was duped by, quote, someone's sick joke. And the Notre Dame athletic director is backing him, saying that Manti was the victim of a so-called catfish hoax, referring to the documentary and its subsequent MTV show about shifting online identities. I'm going to bring in Nev Schulman now. He joins me now via Skype, and he's investigating this catfish hoax related to Manti Te'o. Of course, he is the creator and executive producer of Catfish on MTV. So, Nev, for our viewers who aren't familiar, could you just please define what catfish means?
Yeah, sure. Basically, as a result of our film Catfish in 2010, which chronicled my sort of strange internet hoax experience, the phrase catfish has now been used to describe someone who creates fake online profiles in order to seduce people into internet relationships.
Nev, given what we know now, what is your assessment of Manti Te'o's explanation that he was a victim of an elaborate scheme?
Well, obviously, as someone who's been through an experience not too dissimilar from the one that we're discussing today, I'm inclined to believe that it is very possible, in fact, that Manti was introduced, or rather introduced to this girl at some point, started a friendship, and that it may have escalated unintentionally into a romance, and that it's very likely he was, in fact, catfished by whoever is behind all of this.
That being said, Nev, many things about this story seem to suggest that Te'o perhaps knew about the hoax or became a part of the hoax at some point. Is there anything about this narrative that makes you uncomfortable with classifying him as a victim?
Yeah, well, you know, I try to reserve judgment in these sort of cases and on the show, and certainly in this case, as long as I can, because it's really hard to know until all the facts have come out and all the parties involved have been revealed what's going on. But there is a little bit of unsettling information surrounding whether or not Manti knew, perhaps sooner than he let on, that something was up and that perhaps he protected the truth or didn't reveal the truth for fear of somehow muddying his own reputation.
You know, that being said, if this is innocent, he would be one of the most high-profile people to ever get caught in this sort of catfish scheme or scam. What are some specific things that you would advise to people who are in cyber relationships to protect themselves or to keep this from happening again?
Well, you know, everybody's looking for love, and nowadays, as of last year, 80 million people are looking for it on the internet. So it's hard to give any kind of single general rule or red flag to look out for. But as we continue to see more and more situations where people are being deceived to varying degrees online, there are certainly things you can do, one of which maybe could have helped in this case, which is just simply a Google search. It didn't appear that there was really any record of this girl being alive or going to school or her car accident or anything like that. And if someone had simply spent a few minutes or perhaps an hour or two Google searching her, that might have become apparent. And of course, another thing you can do is, and it doesn't seem to have happened in this case, but really demand that the person make the effort to, much like I am now, get in front of a webcam and just talk to you face to face. Because if they're really serious about being in a relationship and it's something you've been pursuing for weeks or months or even years, I think that they'd be able to find the time to get in front of a computer with a webcam and have a simple Skype conversation.
Right. Something that clearly they did not do in this case. You know, the Notre Dame athletic director called this a very sophisticated prank. In your experience, have you seen situations or a hoax that was as elaborate as this one purportedly may have been?
You know, in fact, this story and the Manti Te'o scenario isn't even nearly the most complicated and complex catfish scenario that I've seen. I think it simply involves the first very high-profile public figure, and it is why the story has, in fact, become a national issue. We see this sort of thing a lot. Certainly we see car accidents, we see cancer as tools, or rather things that catfish use over the course of their relationship to be excuses as to why they can't meet up or why they're too busy to be available even for something as insignificant as a video chat. So this story really does fall right into the cachet of many of the catfish scenarios that we see on the show.
You know, finally here, I do want to ask you about your connection to the case. I know that you were alerted recently, and then pardon the pun, that there was something fishy going on with his girlfriend. And I know that you're investigating the Teo case right now. What's the latest?
Well, what I've been able to discover by reconnecting with people who had in fact reached out to me because of their involvement in all of this is nothing conclusive, but rather suggestive of the fact that this story really extends much further than Teo himself, and that there were a lot more people involved, many more people who were in fact victims of this particular catfish, and this is what in part lends some veracity to his story, that Teo didn't in fact know what was going on and that he was in fact catfished.
And is this a story that you are going to be featuring, I imagine, on your show?
Well, you know, generally on the show we feature stories of people who are currently involved in relationships and are looking for help in getting to the bottom of it. And obviously the Manti case is one that seems to already be coming to a head. But it's something off of the show that I'm going to continue to investigate. I think the conversation that it's sparked and the awareness that America certainly seems to now have about this seemingly isolated incident is really, in fact, an international phenomenon. Okay. So I'm going to continue to keep my fans, as well as those who are involved in my investigation, and I've made myself available to both Manti as well as anybody else involved. If they're looking for someone to talk to who does in fact understand what being a part of something like this feels like, if they want to reach out to me, I'd be more than happy to hear what they have to say and help them in any way that I can.
All right, Nev Schulman, thank you so much. Again, Nev Schulman, the creator and executive producer of Catfish on MTV, also behind the documentary of the same name, an absolutely fascinating subject. And for more on Manti Teo, definitely keep it locked on here at